Hello there, my name is Holland Bankston. This is my keyword outline. Okay. And I'm just going to be holding this again because I'm not techie enough to know how to do it on the screen. Okay, so let me get it to focus. Okay. My name is Holland Bankston, and today I'm going to be speaking about why face-to-face classes should be an option for most classes at Texas A&M University, and this is why. So first, we have our current situation. Right now, we are currently doing asynchronous and completely online through Zoom classes, mostly. We do have a couple classes that are required, or not required, that are optional in person, which is what I am presenting to you today to be our new solution. So, currently, right now, we have, as I said, online classes, and there was a study done by Eric Bettinger, a student at Stanford Business Law, and he did a study on COVID's effect on the classroom, online classes, and it says that online classes have been detrimental to student success. So basically, his study is going to tell you that they did a study that shows that students' grades are lower, their dropout rates are higher, and most of them are not coming back the next semester. So it's a higher rate of that than it would be in a normal semester, which is just not good. So we also have different things that are just making these online classes more difficult for most people, such as learning disabilities. So a student with ADD or ADHD might be struggling to really pay attention to these online classes because they're not as engaging as being in a classroom. Parents with younger kids and any kind of college student are having to remember to stand up, move around in between these classes because they're not getting up and walking to different classes. It's just sitting at a computer, logging in, logging out, logging back in. And so that's very difficult for students with ADHD that need to be moving around and need to be engaged. And so that's a very difficult task for these kids and college students. And that was a study done by Spinks Franklin, and that is found in my bibliography and my sources at the end as well. And then something else that I looked into was different learning styles have also been struggling with online learning because teachers and professors are struggling to cater to each different learning style instead of how they would in a classroom, because certain teachers will have you do more hands-on things and certain teachers will have more visual representations, others will have listening, but we all know through Zoom classes that listening to these videos, watching these videos, doing hands-on activities, it's just not the same as it is in a classroom, and it's very difficult sometimes to be paying attention to those. So, student success, what is that? This is what I talked about earlier with that study with Eric Bettinger. So, student success with online learning has been extremely decreased. So, what that means is that these students are having lower grades and are struggling to stay motivated to be working in these classes because a lot of them you have to make sure that you go to class without anybody making you go, okay? And so also you really have to make yourself do this homework, get it done on time. And it's hard to remember to do that when every day feels exactly the same because you're not really doing anything different. You're not really going to class, And then students are really struggling to pay attention on Zoom. It's very difficult when you're sitting on your computer. You can just click out and go to a different tab and do something else. That's very difficult to pay attention. And then hands-on learning is not an option when you're on Zoom. So for STEM majors specifically, it's very difficult to be learning in labs right now because you don't have the option to be doing these procedures, doing these chemicals, doing things like that. For STEM majors, that's a very difficult thing, especially if you think about medical school. I have a friend in medical school right now, and she is doing it completely online. And I just want you to think, in 20 years, do you want a doctor that, learned everything online? They didn't ever actually get to go to med school? To me, that's really scary. And so I really suggest that we would have face-to-face classes especially for labs and things like that. Mental health has been a real struggle during this time. Students who are staying home all the time because we don't have to leave to go to class, and that's a really big deal for everybody. And no social interaction plays a big part in that mental health because social interaction is necessary for humans every single day. As much as you don't realize it, it is very important. The anonymity. So a student-teacher, student-professor relationship, a professional relationship is very important. When you're emailing your professor and you're like, hey, I am really struggling and I would ask for an extension maybe on an assignment. Well, these TAs and these professors, they don't know us. They don't know who we are. They've never had any interactions with us. And that's very difficult for them to sympathize for a student that they don't know. And at the same time, it's difficult for a student to reach out to a professor or a TA that they've never had any interactions with. This is a quote from Haeyeon Sung, I think I said that right, in 2016, a study done about online learning before it was even a COVID problem, that a learning environment where students have minimal knowledge about the instructor is just not as effective. So my policy that I would present today is that we have more face-to-face options for Texas A&M classes. While this may not be required, that is totally fine. I say that we have this as an option for most of our classes so that we can implement good learning and have good quality of classes every day. So now I'm going to hand it over to Daniela to talk about mask implementation and the specific masks that we would like people to use so that we can keep these face-to-face classes as an option. Thank you.